Okay, so jumping right in, my name is Benjamin Guth. I am the founder and CEO of Mobilize Jobs. I was the vice president of Diamond Global Recruitment Group, one of the largest international recruitment agencies in Canada. And we're going to talk more about that experience in a little bit. But for those of you who don't know what Mobilize is, over the course of this webinar, we're going to touch on it a few times, and we should, by the end of this, get a good understanding of the program as it stands. A little bit of housekeeping. Right now, everybody's logged in listen-only mode. This means that I don't have to hear 100 different microphone echoes or anyway. So the good news is you can't speak. I can't hear you, so don't worry about having that coffee. But if you do have any questions, thoughts, concerns, ideas, please punch them right into that question box, and I will jump on them at the end of the webinar. So some big topics that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give a quick update on the Mobilize Jobs program and some changes going into 2019. I'll give a quick little bit of background on Mobilize for those of you who have never kind of experienced it before. And again, those of you who have, you'll know I love talking about this program. It's my child, so always around to discuss if you have any specific questions on that. We're going to talk about what the current labor climate looks like in Canada. Now, if you're an American employer and you've logged on to this, don't worry. A lot of this information will be relevant, but we'll have a separate webinar for our American partners a little later. In the meantime, we're really in a unique situation with what's been going on the last couple of years, all kind of culminating in what is going to be a free-for-all this summer. So I'll share some stats and some updates there. And finally, we're going to talk about kind of how you can be preparing, what you should be doing already. If you haven't been doing anything, you know, what to get started on today in order to kind of ease the pain a little bit, fix that staffing headache, and come up with some creative solutions. So we're going to talk about all of that in a short amount of time. I know we're going to talk about incentives. We're going to talk about marijuana. We're going to talk about foreign workers. So there's a lot of different items that we're going to jump on today. Again, if there's anything in particular that you want more details on, please just let me know. So starting this off, for those of you who don't know what the Mobilize Jobs Initiative is, we are a national employment initiative and a social enterprise primarily focused on a couple of things. Number one, our main goal is rebranding careers in tourism and hospitality and seasonal roles that have been getting a bad rap for the last decade and really don't deserve that because they are some of the coolest jobs in the world, and matching those roles with amazing young job seekers that are either in the wrong job or are unemployed or are employed but in the wrong location and kind of have that thirst for adventure, that adventurous speaking. So we're going to that adventurous mentality. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we do that a little later, but at the end of the day, our primary focus is matching really amazing young job seekers or people who are young at heart with phenomenal employers that are either seasonal or year-round but have very specific targeted needs, and the current labor market just isn't targeting or meeting those needs. We've started this program in 2014. We launched our first group in Fort Mac, Fort St. John, Peace River, Alberta in January of 2015. We sent out our first group of 26 brave people. And since then, this program has exploded. We've sent out over 1,600 people across more than 65 properties in Canada alone. And last year, we actually launched our first pilot, taking the same model of really putting the emphasis on the travel and the excitement and the training and all of that fun stuff in the United States. And that's growing like crazy too. So we've been very successful there as well. The good news is this isn't just a little baby pilot project anymore. It works. It's amazing. We've got some phenomenal employers that are participating in it, and I'm happy to talk a little bit more about that as we go. So where did Mobilize come from? What was the situation like 5 years ago when we built this program? Well, for those of you who don't know, my family business was the Diamond Global Recruitment Group, which was the largest ethical and compliant foreign recruitment agency in Canada. So for the last 3 decades, we were bringing in about 1,000 people a year for about 100 different properties coast to coast. We worked with government, we worked with industry, we threw big job fairs, we facilitated in a lot of discussions in Ottawa, and we really invested in pretty much every international recruitment program you can imagine. We're not just talking about temporary foreign worker here. We're not just talking about IEC or working holiday. We use dozens of different visas and bilateral agreements to bring people in. So this was our expertise. We know the value of international recruitment. About 4 years ago, for those of you who were around then, you knew how much that program changed very quickly as a result of some political changes. And as a result, we needed to innovate really, really, really quickly. So the environment that we were in at that point was, a raging economy, a great oil and gas sector, low unemployment rate, and a employer who were really reliant on the temporary foreign worker program that just disappeared all of a sudden. And so we had to innovate quickly. We came up with Mobilize as a way to match really amazing young Canadians and create this phenomenal experience of tying in the really amazing things that our industry as a whole and our neighboring industries can offer, while removing all of the reasons why people would say a career in tourism or hospitality or groundskeeping or the trades is not exciting. We just wanted to remove all the negatives and build in almost a summer camp adventure feel. And as a result, that's kind of how Mobilize was born. And I could talk about that for an hour, but we don't have time for that. So again, happy to kind of share how we can implement small pieces and how we can help you guys out this summer. Okay, let's jump right into the topic of the day here. I know I'm moving fast. Again, there will be copies of these slides available. We will email out a recording of this presentation, so don't worry if you can't take notes too quickly, but we've got a lot of topics to cover. So 2019. For those of us who were around last year, we know how tough the middle of the season hires were. I cannot tell you how many phone calls I receive in the middle of July with employers that are screaming and who have tried everything and are willing to throw absolutely everything at finding just heartbeats to come in and fill these seasonal shortages. There is going to be no difference other than it's going to be worse this season. So again, if you're pretending that that's not the case, time to wake up and let's start focusing on how we can fix these problems. So let's talk about the current climate. Let's talk about these challenges that we're facing right now. The labor shortage is here. We've been hearing about it for a decade now. We have an aging population. We have an industry that's shrinking in employment appeal. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. And our owners and managers are becoming more and more frustrated with just not having bodies. So today we're going to stop hiding from the labor shortage boogeyman. Today we're going to come out and we're going to start really using real strategies and solutions that are going to fix or at least drastically reduce your reliance on not having talent. Now, let's all of us make a promise today, officially, all as one group, as one industry, for the 30 or so employers that are on this webinar with me right now. Let's make a promise that we're going to stop pretending that this year is going to be different. And again, before you say anything, this is a problem that requires real action, not small little solutions that are going to fix anything. We need big strategies. This won't go away just because you hired a high school student to come in and manage your Facebook profile for you this summer. This isn't going to disappear or be fixed because you brought on 2 students from an HR co-op program that are going to magically be able to find all of your workers and do all your recruitment for you. There is no magic bullet simple solution here. Okay, there is no solution. Just because you can find talent today, it doesn't mean that those individuals are going to show up when it matters. So remember, this is a very different labor market today than it will be in spring. So be prepared, understand that we have to plan. We're going to talk about some strategies that Mobilize has used in a moment, but I need everybody to cumulatively agree that this is a problem that's going to require real action. Now, I know a lot of you are on this webinar today to talk about the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. And once again, we are still the subject matter expert on the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. TFW is and was an amazing recruitment option. We brought thousands and thousands of people in from our offices in over a dozen countries. And I get it. I get it. Let's be honest. This is an amazing program. And as an industry, we were really reliant on it for a long time. It was too good. Now we know, of course, it was expensive. And of course, we had tons of legal hoops to jump through and lots of advertising to do. But at the end of the day, we were able to get some really amazing team members that were locked to us for a few years. We were able to relax a little bit and focus on different areas of the business. And, in 2013, staffing wasn't the biggest concern that people had. Certainly not to the same level that it is right now. Now that that program's pretty much gone, and we find ourselves having the same issue that every other industry is, we are starting to feel the pain, except we're about 15 years behind all these other industries because we were so lucky for so long. And again, I sold this program. This was my life. I really felt this model. So I understand the value and how wonderful it was, but I also understand what it feels to not have that talent available. Our standard of service for decades was the front desk supervisor at the Mandarin Oriental in Manila. These people came with years and years of experience, professionalism inside and out, and just were amazing rock stars. Of course, we're going to see a difference between those and the 19-year-old inexperienced Canadians that show up on our door in the middle of the season. If our baseline was the gold standard, I get the fact that a 19-year-old who has all the options in the world, who walks into our business begging for us to sell him or her on a career in hospitality, would be viewed as entitled versus what we were used to. We don't even know how to react to something like this. As an industry, I know that we've invested a lot of money with our industry associations in tourism as a career marketing campaigns, and we all have that section on our website about how we offer certain benefits and perks to employees. But the truth is the message or the vision or the role or the experience that we're selling is actually an out-of-date representation of what our industry can actually offer and does actually offer. Now, I don't mean to be harsh here, but we need all the help we can get. But at the end of the day, it just feels a little bit like we're recruiting taxi drivers when people really want Uber here. We need to rethink how, as an industry, we operate, we recruit, and we brand these jobs and these careers. And we're going to talk about how we've successfully done that in the last couple of years. Finally, even though it's a reality, businesses have been using this statistic of low unemployment or the low unemployment rate as a benchmark for recruitment challenges for as long as I can remember, since day one. Regardless of what that rate is, it is always the I can't find staff because of the unemployment rate. Now, I'm going to be the first person to tell you that this is not an accurate representation of potential employment in your business. Usually, as a matter of fact, I find it's the opposite. In areas with the highest unemployment, it's much harder for me to find somebody who wants to work and wants to commit to a unique job and something creative than in areas or regions with very low unemployment. I know, it sounds like a juxtaposition. It sounds like the opposite of what should be the case, but it's true. In Atlantic Canada right now, in these communities that you hear about with unemployment that's way up in the double digits, it's almost impossible for me to find a good team member that wants to join a program like this or that wants to work in hospitality than in Banff in the middle of July. And yes, I am finding people in Banff in the middle of July that want to travel to Winnipeg or Manitoba to work in the tourism sector. So there's something to be said for the fact that when we're looking at it through a recruitment lens, even in the worst of times, in the middle of a global recession, when plenty of job seekers were available, as an industry, we're not really begging to find the ones who are unemployed. Unemployment is not a realistic value because those who can't find work are not always the most marketable candidates that are available. As employers, we want the best and brightest. We want individuals that even in the worst economic climate have jobs. That's what we're looking for. So these individuals that you're looking for right now, they're not the ones that are sitting on unemployment begging for this opportunity. And by citing the unemployment rate as a reason that you can't actually find workers, you're basically telling the world that the only people you actually want to work for you are those who can't find a job anywhere else. And that's crazy. If that's actually the case, you may need somebody else running your recruitment division, because the truth is we have the best jobs. As an industry, and I'm talking tourism, hospitality, resorts, customer service, as an industry, we are the greatest, most marketable jobs in the world right now. Let me let that settle in for a second. 1 in every 10 jobs in the global economy today are in tourism. This is the first item on everybody's bucket list. Travel and tourism is the definition of adventure and excitement. That when we're at home, we're not dreaming about an engineering job. We're dreaming about traveling the world. Okay, we're dreaming about and sitting on Instagram and watching everybody else's highlight reel of going and traveling and having these adventures. Okay, at the end of the day, our jobs are awesome. And you need to let that settle. You really need to understand, believe, and know that our jobs are prized around the world. That same job seeker that you think is snubbing their nose at your housekeeping role is coming to me and begging me for an opportunity to do that same job in Ireland or Australia or even the US. That same kid, your kids, if you have a teenager at home who is thinking about coming and joining the industry, but is thinking to themselves, oh, I would never want to clean toilets, but they're lining up for the opportunity to go and work in a very similar hotel in Europe or Australia. Why is that? Why is it that we can't convince those same individuals to have a Canadian adventure? And I'm here to tell you that you can. That employer in Ireland, that employer in the US, that employer in Australia, they're ranking them as highly as you do your TFWs, as highly as you do that rock star from Manila who was working at the front desk at the Mandarin Oriental. So we have to change our perspective of this generation. Just because we don't necessarily understand how they operate or we haven't found the right pitch doesn't mean that they're the wrong fit. We're going to change our perspective, and I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. Okay, moving forward, let's talk about preparation. With all that being said, let's talk about insights that can actually be used today to help fix these staffing headaches. So, starting with this tip, advanced preparation is the most important thing you can do. As an industry right now, and you all feel this, I know because I've gotten these stats from you, we're forced into a Hunger Games recruitment strategy. This is the recruitment Thunderdome. Okay. Here's what I mean by that. Job seekers are looking for work now. The ones that are applying to your jobs, you post your job on Indeed and you get 100 applications today, even though you're really just pooling for summer, those job seekers are not looking to wait until summer. And they know they're a valuable resource. Those job seekers, those applications, yeah, they'll tell you one thing, but they're going to go through that whole interview process. They're going to waste your time, and they're looking to get that employer that's going to hire them something next week because that's what they want. Advanced hiring, advanced interviewing, and I can only speak from the thousands of people that we're interviewing right now, it yields low results if you're offering the exact same job as that employer across the street. Would you personally wait 6 months if you were looking for a job today? Advanced preparation does not always mean advanced recruitment, however. So I'm not saying don't do anything. I'm not saying don't pool these resumes and use them as a marketing source. I'm saying that unlike your temporary foreign workers or your IEC candidates, Canadians that are going into entry-level roles, they're not thinking about summer yet. They're not there yet. You do need to get on this planning yesterday though, but again, it's not necessarily interviewing that you should be wasting your time on. It's building that experience out. And just remember this, if your candidates are interviewing with you today and that job is for a job this summer, they're also interviewing with the hotel next to you tomorrow and with me on Friday. Okay, so understand that there really is no way to lock them in and ensure that they're actually going to show up. And second to the phone calls I get in July, the second largest volume of phone calls that I receive for staff are in May, when all of the staff that were supposed to show up either don't or do and leave after a week. Okay, we're all fishing in the same pond. So how do you differentiate your experience? What do you offer for these job seekers that they can't live without right now? How is your experience different from the hotel next door? And be realistic here. Ask the hard questions. What's going to be different about this year from last year? We all know that in June, we're going to be suffering from this lack of available talent. We know because I'm not immune to it. I'm recruiting for 60 different employers. I get it. I know that if I haven't done all of my hiring by May and tripled that volume that I actually need, that I'm not going to get the staff that I need. So what's going to be different? We're all going to be suffering from that same labor shortage. What do we need to do today? What can we do today to come up with these new solutions and fix this problem? So let's talk about some creative incentives. Let's talk about some things, some small things that we can add to make our experience a little bit more sparkly. And I'll jump right in. What extra things can we do to rebrand? What the most common question or the most common thing when I ask people, what kind of special incentives do you have? The most common thing that I hear is, oh, we do an end of season bonus. And I'm not immune to this. We have a bonus prospect as well. We do a performance bonus at the end of every placement. But the truth is, bonuses are really tricky. If they're done correctly, they can be really effective tools to keep someone those last few weeks of the season, that final stretch, to stop them from going home a little bit early and stay until that last day. Or they can be a really great way to reward somebody for going above and beyond, and just an okay way to punish somebody for doing the wrong thing, take away from their bonus. That being said, the most reasons that turnover happen, the most common turnover reasons, they're not something that's going to be remedied by a $500 bonus that I'm not going to receive as an employee for another 3 months. If I'm really fighting with my manager, or I'm just in a toxic environment, that $500 is not going to keep me there. And the ones that do end up staying would have stayed anyway. So, it's a really tricky thing, and it's something that requires a tremendous amount of time and effort to do right. In my experience, you're much better off taking that same value and offering a perk that speaks to this generation a little better, such as a housing reimbursement or a ski pass reimbursement or travel subsidies, or there's a couple more things we'll touch on later that work for this generation. But again, if you're going to use this as a performance-based bonus, you really need to put a tremendous amount of time and effort into clearly outlining and following that bonus for everyone, because in my experience, it tends to do more damage than good. But Maria got a bonus and she did the same number of rooms I did. That's a very common thing, and it ends up leading to a lot of jealousy and envy and disappointment and terrible conversations at the end of the year. Figure out what your intention is for that bonus. Is it really a performance management tool, or is it just I want people to stay until the end of the season? And come up with a new way to offer something that does the same result. Here's some other examples on how to better emphasize what we as an industry already offer, and a few suggestions on easy changes or additions that we can use to market our roles to young people or job seekers that might not necessarily have thought of this industry as a career. First and foremost, here's a no-brainer. Cross-train. Cross-train, cross-train, cross-train. I don't care if it's not part of your process now. Highlight the skills that your new employees will obtain well in advance. And I'm not talking about the same boring quote on everybody's website that says, you will get customer service skills. No. Okay, that's on every careers page. We smell that. It's nonsense. Be real, people. Redefine these jobs to suit what the modern job seeker is actually looking for. And if you don't know what that is, then call me and we can work out a couple solutions. First and foremost, working for a resort, working for a hotel, working for a restaurant, working for a landscaping company, regardless of what role you're in this industry, it is cool. Okay, this is the sexiest industry on the world. But I'm never going to clean toilets, I'm too cool, or I'm too far ahead in my life, or I don't ever have to clean toilets, right? You probably heard that before. Well, change how that position is seen. This isn't a housekeeping role. This is a general resort attendant role. This is a back of house operations role. This is a crash course in running a hotel from the bottom up, where you're going to spend 6 months learning rooms division. Okay, change how we market it. That's an easy one. Okay, and be authentic about it. Millennials love challenge. They actually love hard work. This is not a lazy generation that the way that we've been branded. It's simply we like different things. Okay, we like rock and roll when our parents liked, I don't know, jazz, or I don't know, I'm dating myself. But at the end of the day, we just have to change how these positions are marketed. We love unique, creative experiences. Just give us this housekeeping job wrapped in artisanal gold leaf wrapping paper. Tell us that we can't actually have it. Make us line up for it. Give it to us in a limited edition color. Okay, just tweak it a little bit so that we line up overnight to get this job. And I'll tell you, we've got lines of people trying to apply to Mobilize right now. We have to have it. We just need it marketed a little differently than the way that you marketed it to our parents. Here's another one. The word seasonal often comes with a negative association in our minds. It's the number one reason I hear people screaming that they can't find workers. Well, nobody wants these seasonal jobs. It's the same. They're just 4 months or they're just 6 months. And why would somebody take a 6-month job when they could work year round? Let's get rid of that word. Let's just throw it out. Okay. This is the same reason that we tell ourselves that people wouldn't fly across the country for a short term, and it's a waste of time. Let's get to the bottom of what actually works. Ask yourself this: why do tens of thousands of people pay absurd amounts of money right now to work for free as part of a college internship, and yet we still can't find the same people to do the same job and actually pay them for it? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that you can get students to do these jobs, but those same people feel like a general housekeeping role is beneath them when you want to pay them for it? Here's why. It's because students believe that they are getting more value from that experience. I don't totally understand that. What value are they getting? Debt? At the end of the day, most employers I talk to say we'd rather have somebody fresh out of school and train them rather than let them get programmed incorrectly from the schools and have them feel like they're walking right into a management role. But at the end of the day, schools have had it really easy. Schools are automatically associated with prestige. It's something that we should do. We need to get this credential. We need to get this thing that we can hang in our office for the rest of our lives, even if it's worthless. Okay? As an industry, let's capitalize on some of that. Let's offer credentials. Let's offer things that matter to this generation. Let's talk about incentives that actually work. Let's talk about them right now. Here's some things that people and millennials actually care about. Here are some things that you can implement right now at the end of this webinar that will make immediate difference in your employment this summer. Number one, for the same cost as a bonus or a raise, offer housing. Period. Offer cell phone reimbursement. Nobody does that, okay? That's an amazing benefit that is so easy, and it's what, $60 a month, okay? Take care of the most important thing to this generation, which is their phone. Offer everybody an upgraded cell phone for staying to the end of the season. There's your end of season bonus right there, okay? Talk to your employees once a month and take them on Insta trips, on Instagrammable moments that they can showcase their phenomenal experiences that only your property offers, and broadcast that to the world for free. That's what you're getting here. Last year, we brought in someone to work in Whistler as a cook. He was awesome, but on a routine check-in call a couple weeks in, he actually told me that he's never seen beyond a 350-meter radius of the hotel. He came all the way from Halifax, and he could see the peak from his window, but he had never actually taken the gondola up. That's insane. After a quick call with our placement partner and the team then going on a team hike the next day off that everybody had, this guy now has a cemented memory for the rest of his life. This is easy, guys. It just takes a little bit of extra work and it's free. This is what we already do for our guests now. Make it more than just a job with the tools that you already have available. Housing is so important, and it's such a crucial benefit, and we can no longer ignore it here. This is our industry, and I'm not talking about free housing. I'm just saying it has to be a part of the equation. We sell beds. We know that people value our $500 a night rooms. That's our industry. Why would you want an employee to be homeless or living 10 people to a room when they're cleaning your palatial Mountain View suites? That's just a recipe for disaster. How can you expect an employee to actually show up and value your experience when they're sleeping in a tent? And I just read an article last night that my colleague forwarded me about Revelstoke, about a candidate who is one step away from sleeping in a cave. Okay, and is staying with a family and has basically implemented themselves into this family as a caregiver now, so that they can work with the mountain. I'm going to be really clear about this here. Your employees will leave you for housing, period. This is a fact. Find something safe for them, make it clean and realistic, and define that experience. Better housing leads to better sleep, leads to happier, more appreciative employees. But the housing in Tofino is all moldy, and it's always small, and it's always cramped. People should just appreciate getting anything at all. Come on, friends. If everyone's housing is disgusting, think of how incredible and appreciative your employees be when they realize how much better what you offer is from the rest of the pack. I'll talk more on this in a moment, but stop running away from housing. So let's talk about how not to be taken advantage of. We're talking about a lot of perks, and we're going to keep talking about a lot of perks and ways to change these strategies. And the most common fear that I always hear from my employers as well, they won't appreciate that, or it doesn't matter, or why am I doing this when nobody actually cares? So first and foremost, the most important thing I can tell you, and the thing that gets the most pushback from every employer out there, but I'm living proof, is that it is not all about the money. Okay, money is a tertiary motivator. If somebody's leaving you for an extra dollar an hour, it's because there are three other things that have gone wrong that you could have fixed. We already know that this generation is willing to go into debt for the right experience. Okay, they're willing to pay to work for you for free. It's not about the money. I'm not saying underpay all your staff, but I'm saying change how you structure this and offer something different. So instead of paying $27 an hour, pay $15 an hour and offer, that remaining amount of money in unique, cool experiences. As an industry, as a generation, you know this, we can work anywhere. Jobs are plentiful. We are here for a good time. We know it's not a long time, and we want to maximize our Instagrammable moments. That's this generation. That's who we are. Help us do that. Here's some ideas. Be the first property in Canada to guarantee me 100 new Facebook and Instagram followers and every other employee by ensuring that every single one of you guys is actually connected on Instagram. Boom, no brainer. That will, I guarantee you, get some press. 100 followers for every new employee that we have. That's what we want. Okay, we crave social presence. Give us that social presence. Facebook and Instagram are free tools. They're easy. Use them to distribute information to every single one of your current employees, your past employees, and all of their friends, and gain the added benefit of actually showcasing your incredible experiences that guests will receive once they come. I promise you, somebody will stumble upon this kid's ski trip or this young housekeeper's staff cooking class or whatever, and I promise you they're going to remember that brand. They're going to remember that location. Okay, whether it's as a future employee or as a guest, this is free marketing and it works. You can always offer something different. I'm working with Super 8s. I'm working with 4-star and 5-star properties. Everyone has something unique to offer. There is no property out there that cannot fill their positions with Canadian employees. You're just missing the right experience. You can always offer something different, and different isn't always expensive. Here's an example. A few months ago, I was at a chamber meeting and I spoke with a quick service restaurant chain, a big Tim Hortons, that brought in a lot of working holiday visa holders. And this particular owner told me that there was a parade in their town every single year and that the foreign workers got to be on the float at the back of the parade handing out free coupons for coffees and sandwiches and different things. Come on. It was the highlight of the summer for them, and this is the biggest rush I can imagine. Let's be honest, I'm dying to have that experience. I've never been offered that. I can't pay for that. I've never been on a float in a parade, and let alone being the guy who actually gives out the free food. I mean, you're the most popular person next to the person shooting off the t-shirt cannon. Honestly, you can't buy that kind of fun, and this leads to photos. This leads to referrals of more working holiday visa holders every single year. This is an awesome tool that doesn't cost much, and it's an adventure. In passing, I asked this individual where the local Canadian employees were, and he just said, oh, well, somebody needed to stay back and run the restaurants while the foreign workers were doing this. Come on. That's the mentality we're dealing with here, people. We've ruled off Canadians, and what I'm telling you is let's use that same kind of marketing edge. Let's use that same excitement for these locals and offer those kind of unique experiences. Be that one place that a housekeeper with absolutely no experience can shadow the general manager. Provide a dishwasher with the opportunity to learn the front desk on their day off. Give your office staff a cooking lesson with your head chef. These are easy things. Offer employment challenges that aren't just thinly veiled performance tests like who can clean up fastest or who can convert the most rooms. No, your employees will smell that. Okay, be realistic. Offer unique employment challenges that somebody can actually get excited about, not necessarily related to their performance, but something totally different that they can be proud of and chase. Scavenger hunts, fun things. Offer cross-training badges and make those badges out of cool things that are specific to that department. Add a little summer camp to your workforce. Throw some arts and crafts in there, enjoy it. Put the same emphasis on your staff that you do your guests. It will pay off. Bring back the company baseball team. Here's an easy one for you. Create a custom branded, beautiful reference letter, not just to whom it may concern, but a stamped section with different accomplishments from different divisions, with references from different supervisors. All of this can be done with software now, people, and they can keep it in their resume for the rest of their lives. Okay, make your company a place that people feel lucky to have worked at. And remember that experience, not just with fondness, but clearly have it outlined right in front of their faces on all the beautiful and cool things that they accomplished, and the fact that that experience made them a better person as a result of this. And I'll show you on the next slide some examples of that. We'll show you how we're using it currently and the value that they're using it to broadcast all of this information out on social media. These are the things that people will travel around the world to experience already. And I know this for a fact because I built this off of the experience that Canadians were having in Australia. Okay, these are what people are already traveling for. Your employees will appreciate them. And if they don't, you just haven't found the right perk for that demographic. If you're in a small region in Manitoba where most of your staff are in their mid 40s or 50s, yeah, maybe the summer camp isn't going to be the right fit, but I guarantee you cross-training and credits and the ability to move up and work in different capacities and change their roles or change their titles or get amazing references. These matter. And if you don't know what matter to them yet, then I can come up with some solutions, or just talk to them. You'll figure out what this generation wants if you spend time with them. Finally, if you really can't think of some other ones, I've got a million ideas. Just call me or send me a message afterwards, and I'll help create a plan for you. This is all Mobilize 101. On this next slide, you'll see some examples of some of the ones that we've used. These are individuals who are both in Canada or the US. These are locations. We try to do something like this for every successful mobilizer. Do you know how amazing it is for them to be able to have this, for them to see that we are promoting them, how much we love working with these properties or these particular employees, and we're willing to talk about it on our company page? This is amazing. Show your staff how important they are to you. Don't hide from it. Trust me, your guests can tell. Your guests want to know about your staff. And a good way to understand this is think of any other industry in a modern website right now. If you go to any website that was designed in the last 12 months and you go to their About Us or contact page, you're going to see photos of most of their staff. Okay? And our industry is lagging behind. Our industry is 10 to 15 years behind here because we haven't needed to do this. But I'm telling you, we can accelerate quickly if it just takes a few small tweaks. Here's a Facebook post right off the bat, an easy one that we've got. We had some candidates that came to Salt Lake City this past winter. They're working there right now. Now, I could choose to market this as a housekeeping position for a resort in a suburb of Salt Lake City, Utah. Nobody would apply to that. Or I can share this experience of these two best friends from California who never left their hometown and who on the first day of arriving to their work site were put on skis for the first time they've ever seen snow, and played games with all of their new coworkers while learning how to ski. This is free, people. This is easy. Does it even matter what job you're assigned to if this is how you're marketing your roles? Does it even matter what you're doing from 9 to 5 if this is what the experience is actually about? Redefine the experience. Okay, jumping into another big topic. We're going to take a break from that last one, but we will get back into it. Pot. Marijuana, big topic for right now. This is a big part of our industry in particular. Okay, so we're starting to see the public perspective of marijuana shifting from our secret shame that we have to sneak off and do in the bushes and pretend, we didn't, to this guilty pleasure that I'm not necessarily going to get fired over, and maybe I don't do it every day, but it's not against the law anymore. That's where we are. We're somewhere in between those two. We're quickly moving to more acceptance, but it's going to be a couple years before every single person out there is smoking pot with their bosses. Now, we're also seeing more and more guests openly enjoying this on property, and especially those who are coming from outside of Canada to some of our bigger tourism destinations. I know you've all seen it already, and if you haven't, it's happening. Now you can, and a really great way to determine this is talk to your housekeeping crew, because the truth is they know that they can't fly home with it. So most of them leave it in the rooms, just like the 6-pack that's in the fridge. Now they're leaving a half quarter or an ounce of whatever it is sitting on that center table. Okay. It's there, it's happening. And I know because my staff find it. So it's happening. Now we're seeing more and more guests that are enjoying this. And we can look at this a few different ways, but depending on, if you really are forward thinking and you address it carefully and you have the right strategy here, this could pay off tenfold. So I'm gonna walk through 3 different strategies that I've seen already happening right now. Number 1, denial, the big one. Now, I've already talked to a lot of employers who haven't actually changed any of their policies yet and still look at people who enjoy pot as if they're actually doing something wrong. Time to wake up, people. At the very least, take your tobacco policy, take your alcohol policy, smoosh them together, and boom, you have your basic marijuana policy. This is real, okay? This is there. You're not firing somebody for having pot in housing anymore. You can probably fire them if they break your smoking rules, but you're not firing them for possessing it. Okay, I know housing policy is all kinds of interesting things, but for the same reason you can't withhold somebody's ability to have a closed bottle of wine. You have to start planning for this if you haven't already. Don't make people feel bad about this. Stop it. I'm just waiting for the day that we are hearing about a discrimination or a wrongful termination lawsuit over somebody that was punished or terminated just because they came back to staff housing stoned. Okay, I'm not talking about being a public nuisance. I'm not talking about causing a scene. I'm talking about the equivalent of somebody having a glass of wine and coming back to staff housing. This is going to be everybody this summer. For those of you who don't believe it's happening, you're hiding from it. Stop it. The world didn't end. Come on out. It's really nice out. It's beautiful out. As a matter of fact, if you're willing to accept it, there's lots of opportunity. Number 2, well, this strategy is we're just going to maintain the status quo. So if you're on this webinar specifically because there's step-by-step marijuana guidance, and that's what you thought this was going to be all about, you've probably been on 3 others this year already, specifically talking about this topic. It's good practice to stay up with industry standards, but I'm going to be honest with you all. Why are you following the herd here? Everybody's defining this. We're creating this as we go. And even the experts are taking a system of best practices and checking with everybody else to see if that's what they're doing. Okay. You don't have to do this. You don't have to follow the status quo. Make sure everything you're doing is legal, of course, as in every element of your business practice, but dare to be different here. Okay. In a few years, this is all going to be commonplace. There's going to be a really easy downloadable guide that everybody's going to have to follow. But today, we have an opportunity to be special. That brings us to our 3rd point, and I'm already getting eyes rolled at me, I know, but opportunities, okay? So many employers out there are already capitalizing on this. I remember being in a TOTA seminar, a Thompson Okanagan Tourism Association seminar 2 years ago, where tourism students were presenting different tourism products, and the winner of this whole presentation was actually an idea around a spa that catered entirely towards marijuana-related projects. Now, most people didn't actually take it seriously in that room. But the truth is, pod is exciting news right now. If you want to, you can use it to get massive exposure. And here's an example. St. Anne Spa, for those of you who don't know what it is this like really awesome rural Ontario spa. And I love it. I actually try to get there as often as I can every couple of years, but it's amazing. And they've had international exposure for weeks now because they were the first to offer CBD infused massages. Now, for those of you who don't know what CBD is, it's like pot, but not pot. It's pot that doesn't actually have any narcotic effects. So in reality, it's basically the equivalent of, I don't know, argan oil infused massages. But this was genius. When was the last time a new spa service of yours was highlighted by Vice International News or CNN? Okay. That's the bare minimum that you can do, and they are capitalizing on this. Use this chance. If you've got guts, if you are forward thinking, these chances don't come along often. They are once in 5 lifetimes. Be loud. Think about it this way. Who do you think was the first employer after Prohibition to actually give a bottle of wine as a gift? What about the first employer to offer craft beer or wine tastings? These all seem normal place now. We don't remember this stuff. But not so long ago, these were all very taboo. Just as a thought, I bet you would get international exposure and fill every single role you have this summer if you sent out a press release offering a free CBD pen to all new hires. Just a thought, but right off the bat, I might actually do that. That is a really cool idea. Or if you want to go even further, I don't know. There's a million different things you can do here. I promise you, your guests are already enjoying pod on property here. So why not give them and your staff an environment that's safe and fun? This is just an idea, but how about a designated smoking patio with a campfire and s'more kits, right? That's cool. What if instead of hiding from it, we created a safe and acceptable place to actually consume what is now a glass of wine? It's just a thought, but I bet right now people would talk about it. And I bet it would not only fill your positions or fill that interview queue, but it would definitely attract guests because that is what people are looking for. Now, let's talk a little bit about the temporary foreign worker program. I'm going to touch on this briefly because I know we're moving quickly and we've got a lot of content, but we are seeing a return that certain employers are using this program. Now, it is available in certain cases. It's very expensive. It's very challenging and it's not simple. They haven't made it easy, but there are some options for you. If you really want more details on this, give me a call. I've got a really great list of advertising sources that the government's approving now. And at the end of the day, I can honestly say that with my preference, and again, we do both, but at the end of the day, with the right model, Canadians are available. And I challenge you to come up with a position or a role that we can't find with Canadians utilizing the right incentives. I know this because we're finding them. We may have to rethink how we do things, but if I can find a housekeeper that wants to go and spend 6 months in the middle of winter in CarMax Yukon territories, in a population in a community with 30 people in the middle of winter, you can fill your shortages. Just change your perspective. Shifting gears a little bit onto retention, okay? This is our last big tip of the day. Now, our retention program-wide is about 80%. Now, when we did the math and we worked with all of our other employers, there's no magic solution that's going to guarantee people stay forever. People get sick, people die, it happens. But when comparing that on the industry averages of sometimes 10 to 30%, we've really tried to distill down why we are seeing the results. So here's some quick tips. Number 1, don't lose your best people because they feel they aren't as important as your international team members. Your employees know what they mean to you from day one. Okay, this seems silly. This seems like a no-brainer, but I promise you, if you've got TFWs and you're not treating your Canadian staff exactly the same way, you will feel the pressure. Okay, go through your training manual, replace the word guest with the word new employee, and then reread that training manual. Don't devalue your most precious asset. These are who your guests are reviewing online nowadays. Keep them happy, keep them valued. You're paying for your TFW's flights, but you'd never consider paying travel costs for your Canadians. Come on. We're all hypocrites here, but we know how much work we put into that program. Put the same amount, if not more, into Canadians. And it's different perks. It's not the same ones. Canadians don't want 2 years of a contract. They want a 6-month baller, really cool experience that you can offer for the same price. Offer recognition to your staff and reward them often. Okay, see previous discussions on what that could look like. And again, it doesn't always need to be monetary, but the value of a letter to a team member or a quick shout out in a staff room goes a long, long, long way. I used to write letters to the emergency contacts of every single one of my staff members at the 3-month point, just talking about how wonderful this person is. And let me tell you, I'm still talking to those parents today. Develop a social presence. If you haven't done this already, you are really behind. Share your successes and share them publicly, but don't be afraid to empower your team to solve problems that you think might be bigger than they actually are. Are you running a person short one day? Ask your entire company, everybody, how they think that we should handle it. We are bigger than the sum of our parts. The best ideas come from the places you don't think of. And you need to look to this group for future leadership. We're not going to get that future leadership from foreign workers that are on 2 to 3 year to 4 year contracts that then get permanent residency and we bring their families in. And those aren't our managers anymore. They might be our managers, but it's harder to fill that bottom pipeline. We have to reinvest in how we market this program. Okay. Empower everyone. Here's a huge one that I want to leave you with, okay? Identify and remove the reasons that people leave you, okay? This seems simple, but if enough people tell you that they can't find housing, or enough people tell you they aren't getting hours in the shoulder season, or it takes too long to get in every day, and the bus doesn't work or run on time, and that one creepy guy in staff housing keeps trying to invite me over to Mima's house, you get the picture here, guys. Don't get defensive. Learn, adapt, act, okay? Wash, rinse, repeat. Most importantly, make promises, keep promises. The fastest route to turnover is mismanaged expectations. It's not what I was promised is the number one reason we hear of people quitting. Good or bad, define your experience, sell that experience, deliver that experience, okay? Again, that's the most important thing that I can outline. Looking at, the Mobilize formula, we talked a lot about some of the areas that we've really just touched on some of the components here. But one of the big areas that we put a lot of money, research, and time into is recruitment, employment, retention. This is not just a transactional staffing agency. And if that's what you're looking for, you want somebody to sell you resumes, you want to pay a fee, and somebody's just going to show up, you're probably already spending that on monster.com or Indeed or whatever. That's not this. Mobilize is a very, very hands-on, comprehensive recruitment and employment partner. We are invested with our team members and with our employers from day one in those positions being filled. And we're not making money unless we've got somebody that's there and working. And as a result, it's really unique. Like on this next slide, you'll see that Mobilize it's a very customized solution. No two programs are exactly the same. No two solutions are exactly the same. We've developed and changed so much since we first launched in January 2015, and we keep getting better. But this isn't a one-off program. If you're looking for a one-off solution, a little bit of help before my foreign workers arrive, it's not the right mentality. This gets better and better every season. We learn who the right fit is. We learn who the right individual is. And we send individuals out in groups so that they can really broadcast and share and market your property for years and years and years to come. So this program, at the end of the day, there's a ton of different models that we can use. And if you want to know a little bit more about how this program operates or how it can be a fit for you, let's jump off on a call and we can talk about, costs and strategies and where we recruit from and how we recruit. There's so much that we can discuss there. But at the end of the day, there are a ton of different models that we can use to operate. It's a lot less expensive than international recruitment. It is Canadians, which means that usually there's some government funding, depending on where you are, that you can capitalize on, especially in BC and Ontario. There's a lot of government funding that will probably pay for the whole thing and then some. But at the end of the day, we find great people, we keep great people there. That is our goal. And we move individuals so that every seasonal period, they go to a new property, continue their adventure, have a great time. If you love them, you can absolutely keep them if that's something that they want, but it's definitely that adventure. There's a bunch of different models we can use. The most common one actually has us having the staff on our payroll and doing all of the workers' comp and CPP and EI and all that stuff for you. That's just a value-added service that a lot of our partners don't want to deal with because it's a headache. The other option is we can look at keeping them on your payroll directly and simply charge the same rate that we would have otherwise charged on average each week to you as a recruitment fee, but it's still that same great anyways, there's lots of different models that we can use. If this is something you're interested in, give me a call or send me a message and we'll set up a call to talk this week. The big thing that I will say is we're already running pretty late for the summer season. We only have spaces for about a handful of partners left for our summer quota, just because most of our staff and our employees from last year, our employers from last year have re-upped for this year. So if there is an interest, if you do want to participate in the program and you do want some great staff, we can fill them for you. We can't wait until mid-February or March to get this off the ground. We have to gear up and go quickly because we have to identify that experience for you and start marketing it. So again, if there is an interest in this program for you, send me a note, give me a message, ask questions, let me know. I'm happy to jump on a call with you and walk you through a little bit more of it. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's very much something that we have to move for quickly. And that's kind of it. Mobilize fills a lot of different roles. There's really nothing that we've been totally unable to fill if we've had enough time and enough planning to do it. It gets a lot harder midsummer, but if we can bring people in maybe a week or two before the season when they're still available, our staff do stay. We fill everything that you see on the screen ahead of you. We filled lots of skilled management roles. We filled lots of landscaping and other types of roles as well. So just give me a shout, let me know, and we'll walk you through it. So now we've got a couple of minutes where we can jump into a Q&A. That was just a ton of information. So I'm sure there's going to be a couple of questions here, and I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And if we don't see any or I don't get to them in time, I will reach out to you and answer them individually. So now is the time, guys, if you have any specific information that you want to know, or if you have any particular questions that you've got, please punch them into the chat window right now and I'll answer them for you. Okay, here's one. Do you ever work with tourism associations across Canada and help them develop some of their tourism career programs? Yes, we've had some success, both on a local and on a provincial level, working with some of the bigger tourism and hotel association programs. We've got some options available. Our experience hasn't always been as effective as we've wanted it to be, simply because this is an innovative and very reactive and fast-moving model. It doesn't take much to be able to implement it, but it does require a commitment from an industry to really rebrand and not just handle the status quo. This isn't going to be solved simply by having a couple webinars or sending out information to schools, or really even allowing the schools to market it, because I know a lot of you feel that the schools sometimes mismanage or misrepresent how our roles actually exist. At the end of the day, I would love to work a little closer with TIAC. I would love to work a little bit closer with the industry associations, but we need to be realistic and understand that we move quickly and we need to utilize solutions that can move at our pace. The same way you at the resort and property level do. These organizations are not going to solve your shortages tomorrow. They might have an impact for 3 years from now, but they're not going to solve your shortages tomorrow, and that's what we're focusing on. Here's another question. What size properties do you traditionally work with? Amazing question. We've got small lakeside B&B / one-shop breakfast cook operations in Manitoba that we've placed with, and we work with 1,000-person multi-unit properties in Jasper. So there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of different customization that goes into this program. Again, no two solutions are the same, so it's all about It's all about being creative and having enough time to plan that strategy, and not calling me in July because maybe I can help, but I'm just going to throw whatever I have available at you, and it's the same people that you have available at that time. We're at the 1 hour mark, so I'm going to take one last question right here, and then I will, and then we're going to close up. But I promise, here's the contact information on this screen. You can reach out to me. But if you've typed in a question already, I have it, and I'll try to reach out to you today to answer it for you. Okay. So last question I see: creative staff housing options. Do hotels use hotel rooms as an option for staff housing? Yes and no. Again, every property is unique. There's always an option. There's an option in downtown Toronto. There's an option in Kelowna. There's an option in Whistler. There is always an option. Okay. We have seen rooms converted for staff housing, and we've seen it done really successfully for years and years and years, and we've seen it managed really poorly for one season. So again, it more depends on what kind of hotel room that you're using. Is there a place staff can cook meals? Are they going to be interacting with guests? So again, this is one that probably deserves a little bit more discussion, and I'm going to jump on a call with you if you'd like in a little bit, and we can talk through it. All right. I don't want to take up your whole day. I can literally talk for hours, so I'm going to jump off, but you're going to get an emailed copy of this webinar. Please feel free to share it with your team members. If this is something that you're serious about and you feel the need and you're pretty much ready to jump, usually our bare minimum is generally 3 to 4, just because we've seen that affects retention. But give us a call and let's see if we can help you out for this coming season. Thanks so much for joining us. Have an amazing day. Stay in touch. I love talking about this stuff. So feel free to give me a call at any point. Talk to you soon and have a great day.